guys to do me a favor though. Please share this with somebody. This is part two. So let me introduce myself if you don't know who I am. My name is David M. Pinkston, but I go by the name of DMP Speaks. I'm an empowerment speaker. I'm a board certified Christian counselor, but I am a family restoration specialist. So, what does that mean? I help restore, grow, and rebuild families. I do this not just because of money. Of course, you want to take care of your family, and your with your business, with your small business. But I do this to help families grow because I believe in family. I'm a family man myself. I want to see families grow. So I need you guys to do me a huge favor. I need you to share this with someone. So I'm not going to belabor the time because there's a lot to get through. So this is part two of breaking family generational curses. That's what we're talking about. This is part two. I was supposed to have a guest on today, but they weren't able to come on today, and they apologized. But I told them this is going to be another part because this is something that we need to talk about. And this is February. And what is February? Black History Month. And we celebrate all, and I want to just take a moment. We want to celebrate all of our African descent and African and Black America descendants of greatness. We're all great in our own ways, right? Everybody is not the same, but we have given contributions to not just this community where I live at or where you live at, but we have contribute so much in this United States, in this America, and to this world. And the reason why I'm going so hard is not just because it's Black History, because Black History Month is every day. It's 365 days of the year. So we celebrating in February, and that's wonderful. Keep the power, but we have to keep the power going even after February 28th is gone and March comes and April and so on and so forth. Again, so we're talking about this, but we want to talk about certain things that we need to break, okay, so that our families can be great. I'll say it again. We have to break some things in our family so that we can be great. And how we become great, we got to break these generational curses. So I'm just going to do a little small recap of what I talked about last week. And then I'm going to get into some more information that I was talking about for this particular part two. Okay. So what I was talking about last week, and again, please share this with someone. I was talking about, have you ever wondered why you act the way that you do? Have you ever wondered why your parents act the way that they do? Right? Everybody's parents are different. Believe me. I can think about my dad. God bless his soul. How he was from Alabama, so there was a certain way that he kind of carried himself. My mom is from Carolina. Shout out to Bama and Carolina. So I'm a mixture of both of those, and how they raised me and my sister to be a certain way. So you might have your family, they raised you a certain way, but I started to see that there were certain things in my family that I didn't understand, certain things I just didn't really get. And you probably have that same thing, right? There is some generational things that just continue to go and go and go, right? Into your family line, to your bloodstream. But there are some negative things, if we can be honest. Some people don't like to really talk about those things, but those things are true. Um, there's some dysfunctioning in your family line, right? There's a lot of, unhealthy relationships in your family. There is a lot of, unfortunately, divorce. There's a lot of abuse. There's a lot of things that have went on and not talked about. And it seems like it's just continues to happen for generations to generations come. But like I stated last week, we have to do our very best to break that generational curse off of our family, right? When it comes to anger, frustration, like I said, divorce, jealousy, those unhealthy relationships. And I could put it like this too: laziness, not being concerned about one another, or not being concerned, not growing, not being educated. That's a big one I really didn't talk about. Not being educated. It's not, because education is not just in just the university or school. You could be doing a trade. You could be going to Job Corps, whatever it is. So you're educating yourself. You're educating yourself in the street manner, but you're also educating yourself in life. And sometimes that generational curse continues to happen of the lack of education, the lack of growth, the lack of maturity that we don't have like we're supposed to. And I talked about those things. But who's going to break that generational curse? Let me ask you all this. Who's going to really break that generational curse? It's got to start with you. I'll let that sink in for a moment. That family generational curse, that got to stop. And it has to stop with you. And why does it have to? You might say, why do I get picked? Because listen, if you have seen your life and your family's life suffering, the same situations, the same old story, we keep doing the same thing over and over, Frank, and there's no change. You got to get tired of that. Yeah, you got to get tired of that. I hear so many young men and young women say, I'm going to be the first one to graduate from high school, or I'm the first one to graduate from college, or I'm the first of doing this and doing that. That's a huge accomplishment for that person, but it's also a huge accomplishment for that individual, because what are they doing? They're breaking the mold. They're breaking that negative cycle of uneducation or not going for what they want to go for. You got to be able to break that. And that's what I talked about last week. And I also kind of gave you some more examples because that mama didn't have great relationships, or she got divorced. And I'm not talking about nobody's mama, so I'm making sure that I'm not being insensitive. But if we can be honest, there's a lot of things that we see in our family line that has trickled down from the grandmother and aunts and then cousins, and then your mom, if you have a sister, and then to you. Some of that stuff has to be broke or broken. We got to be able to do that. There's a line in your family when it comes to men being cheaters and womanizers and players. We make jokes and stuff like that, right? I used to call myself that too. But to be serious for a moment, that's not a really good thing. If you can't be married to a woman, or be with one woman, right? And you're all over the place, and you can't commit to that one woman, but you feel like you gotta spread your seed, but you can't stay with one woman. That's not good. And it's just trickled down from your uncles and in other areas. It just, that's something that those things got to break. I know this is a hard topic to talk about, but somebody got to talk about it. And curses are made to be broken. Let me say that again, y'all. The curses that are on your family, the way that your aunt acts, the way that people don't get along, they're always fighting, either verbally fighting or physically fighting, right? Yelling and screaming. Depression, that's another big one. Family generational curses. Depression, anxiety, right? Feeling they have low self-esteem constantly, but that's through your whole family line. Those things got to be broken. And it's habitual, but those habits are made to be broken. Now, this is part 2. I want to just give you just a little background what I talked about last week. So I want to just pause here. So we at the kind of the halfway mark. I want to know, what do you feel about what I talked about last week and today? What do you feel that really captured your thoughts? What kind of question do you have? I want you to come on air and I want you to talk to me. I want you to call me at 716 299 0013. Again, that's 716 299 0013. One more time, 716 299 0013. So it is very important, everybody. And I'm, as they say, you're in the trenches. I'm in the trenches of helping these families grow. I'm in the business of helping your family grow, because if nobody's going to take responsibility for your family to grow, then who is? Really, who's going to take that responsibility? I take that responsibility to do what I can for my family. And just to give a real quick shout out, I'll give a quick shout out to my wife. I love you. I try to be the best husband that I can be. So I just want to give a shout out to her. And I also got some people here that are with me today. I usually kind of roll by myself, but I said I guess I'll take them with me because they they're young people, so they want to get on my nerves. But anyways, my son is in the studio today. That wasn't him. He's a little older. My son's saying I love him. He's a good boy. He's going to be doing some great things. Again, we talking about generational curses, so we breaking these. Though I try my best to be able to give him what he needs, because at the end of the day, if I don't teach my son the fundamentals of life and how to be a man, I failed as a father, right? And when it comes to him, I try to do my best. And I also got my niece. My niece, she's in the town from Q's town, so she's coming to hang out with us. So I'm like a father figure to her as well, more than just her uncle. And I try to do my best to pour into her as much as I can. Why am I saying this, and why am I giving the shout out, and why are they here? So they can hear that I am not only putting time and effort into them, right? I'm also putting time and effort into you, because family is important. So somebody could talk about family all day, but if they treat their wives a certain way, if they treat their children or their niece or nephew a certain way, or their mom, you're not going to really believe what I'm saying. And if you ask them, how does David treat you? How does David in Pinkston treat you? How does he treat you? They're going to tell you, and they don't have nothing to hide, because I do this and I'm serious about your family. One thing that I want to really get out really quick is um a lot of you don't have peace in your home. Let me say that. Let me just slow down for a moment. We're almost done. A lot of you don't have peace in your home. There's a certain life, a place in your life that you have not fully healed in. And because you haven't healed in those places, you don't know what peace feels like. And that's a hard thing to feel when you come home and there's chaos all the time. That's not a great feeling. And I tell people, when you have those situations in your family, you're not living, you're just existing. I'll say it again. You're not just living, you're existing. You don't want your family to exist. You want your family to thrive. I enjoyed this weekend so far with my family. I did, because I'm always busy. They could tell you I'm always doing something, right, son? I'm always doing something. But just to be able to sit down and look into my son's face and look into my niece and look into my wife's face, it is something that that's something that money can't buy. Okay. And that's just my truth. But a lot of people, when you call home, there is no peace in your home. I want you to have some peace. I know I sound very old school, but I want you to have some peace in your home. Peace that you never had there, some togetherness. And I want to say this to the parents. You can be the greatest parent that you ever seen, even though you might not have the best, maybe you didn't have the best representation when you grew up. You can break that family curse of children and grandchildren, being treated a certain way, being taught down to. That's never a good feeling when your family is always talking down to you, never believing you, and never see the greatness that you have in you. I would have never turned out the way that I did if my parents and my sister never told me that I was worth something. You hear what I'm saying? One of the things that I want to say to you as well, parents, this is part two, and share this with someone. You can have good relationships with your children. Who told you that you couldn't have a good relationship with them because of how you grew up? And I know it was I've heard stories. People were dealt a bad hand. The people that I know, not everybody, there's some people that I know, they just didn't have the advantage like most, right? and now they have children and they're trying to figure it out, Frank. They're trying to figure out, how do I parent the right way? And I hear a lot of people say there was no book that I had to follow. There was no blueprint that I could follow on how I have to deal with certain situations. And it's not, I mean, there's wonderful books out there to assist you, but it's about implementation, right? It's about that practice. And sometimes parents, and I'm a parent, you get it wrong. You don't get it right all the time. But you can change the dynamic of your and the position of your family by only not only trying but doing, putting that time in. See, relationships and bonds, when you start to build them, they cannot be broken. The only way that they can be broken is when you give up. A generational curse over your family is the only way that can happen. You got to break it. But if you stop in the process of breaking those generational curses, they will always be there. And that's not fair to your spouse, to your children, to your children's children, to your children's children. You want to have sustainable growth in family development. I'll say it again. When we're talking about relationships, right? When you're talking about relationships, you want to have sustainable growth in family development. Okay. So you want to have sustainable growth in family development. Maybe you didn't have someone to sit with you and talk with you, right? But now you got a chance to break that curse and talk to your child and to let them know that you can do, really honestly, you can do anything that you want to do in this life as long as you put your effort in. And I tell that to my son, and I tell that to my niece slash, she like my niece slash daughter. That's what she is. I do my best to pour into them, because here's the thing, even with the young men that I work with, I pour into them a lot, but I can't pour into them more than I pour into my family. Because how can I pour into somebody else and I don't pour at home? So that sustainable growth, that conversation has to happen with the family, with the parents, and that's going to develop your family. And when it comes to stability in your family, almost done here, just a few more minutes. You got to do some things that you never thought you could do in your family to give you the opportunity to be stable, a stable living environment. And I'm not just talking about a stable living environment, and that's great, having a stable home, right? Food, clothing, heat, all of those things. I'm talking about mentally, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, good self-esteem, good character, good integrity. That stuff takes time to build if it wasn't there. You all have opportunity to build sustainable growth and development of your family. Don't let anybody tell you something different. You don't have to succumb to your family curse, and you don't have to be a puppet of your family curses. I know that's a lot to take in, but you don't have to succumb. What does that mean? I don't have to succumb. You don't have to let that curse be a part of you anymore. You can break that. Many people feel that they can't break a habit. If you get to the place that you make an individual choice, like you want to stop smoking, you want to stop drinking, you want to stop doing these things that are hindering you from being the best person that you can be, you'll do it. But when it comes to our family, we got to even do it more, because when they look at us, they're not looking to anybody else. Yes, they see their teachers, they see the principals, they see other people on the outside. But when they look up and they get up in the morning, who are they looking at? They're looking at you. They're looking for that answer. And many of you feel like you don't have the answer. Maybe you don't have the answer, but you have a answer to give them. And that answer that you give them as is, we're going to make it. Some way, somehow, we're going to make it. You can break the curse in your family by being the first one to be done with school. All you got to do is put that application in. All you got to do is put that college application. All you got to do is go visit that school. All you got to do is make that call. All you got to do is send that email. Break the curse on of not being educated. Break that curse. If it's trade school, if it's Bryan and Stratton, if it's a 2-year, if it's a 1-year certification, whatever it is, don't let those things keep holding you down because your parents didn't, or your cousins didn't, or your grandparents didn't. Be that first one and break the mold. Whatever's been hovering over your family, break that. You got to break that. And you can break that curse as well with having healthy relationships. And one of the ways you can have healthy relationships is talking more, having those difficult conversations, right? But having those conversations where you enjoy your family so your family can be whole and stop and not continue to be broken. You can have that peace that we talked about. You don't always have to be argumentative. You don't always have to argue all the time your points. And I know maybe that's how you grew up. Let's just keep it real. Maybe that's the way that you communicated all the time. But there are ways that I talked about this morning in my live that you have to pivot your communication with your family. There's certain things that you might have to do to make those changes. Okay. And I want to leave you with this. You don't have to live under your family's curse any longer. I'm going to keep saying this. There is better for you and your family. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't change, that your family can't change. Now, I'll say this. I'll keep it above. Maybe everybody in your family won't change, but you will. I'll say that again. Maybe everybody in your family may not change, but you will. You can do it. And if you start to change, and you might get some backlash, they might feel, oh, you're trying to be better than me. No, I'm trying to do better than how I used to be. I'm trying to do better than how I used to be. I don't want to be the same anymore. I want my family to thrive. And don't let anybody make you feel sorry for your family to change. Whether it's a cousin, whether it's a parent, whether it's another family member, you do what you need to do to break the curse, because somebody got to do it. Why don't it be you? So as I close this session for now, and we'll come back to a part 3 and maybe a part 4 with some guests, I want to let you know that when your family is suffering and you feel like, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to turn to, I want to be able to help you pivot. I want to help you make those changes that you need to make for your family. I want you to click on the link that I have in my bios on my social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And I want you to sign up for your 30-minute consultation call, because I want to show you what I'm able and capable of doing, because I care about your family. Even if I have not met you already, I believe that your family can change, and we can break these curses, these curses off of our family so that we can be whole. We need whole families. In our Black community, we need whole families. We don't need families continuously being broken. We don't need our daughters meeting the wrong men and being treated the way they've seen it and think that's okay. We don't need our young men just having babies all over the place and not taking care of them. Learning how, and I do my best to show my son, when you find that young lady, and I'm looking at him, when you find that young lady, the way that I treat your mother, I want you to treat her just like that or even better. And I tell him that to his face. And another thing, and I'm done, I tell him, my father told me, and I'm done with today, you're going to be better than me. And I used to say, why are you telling me this? You're a great man, Dad. Why would you say that? He said, there's going to be some things that I'm not going to be able to see that you're going to do. You're going to have more than me. But he said, that's just a representation of who I am because of what I put in you. I want you to tell your child, your son, your daughter, you're going to be better than me because we're going to break this curse together. Listen, I love y'all. I ran out my time, but Frank already looking at me. I love y'all. I will see y'all next week. Speak Out Loud Radio. Let's go.
So much for spending time with me on Speak Out Loud. I hope that I inspired you, motivated you, and I want to help you become the best version that you can be. Please follow me on all my social media outlets, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, at DMP Speaks. But I want you guys to have a wonderful and amazing day. Let's go get it, y'all.
Unfortunately, African Americans are 30% more likely to die from heart disease than non-Hispanic whites, according to the U.S. Department of Health Services. My name is Fatima Matthews, and I am a congestive heart failure patient. I am taking my life-changing experience of having died on the table and being revived to help educate others on the topic of heart health. And I am inviting you to attend my luncheon on February 18th at 11 a.m. at the Underground Railroad Heritage Center right here in Niagara Falls, New York. I will be speaking, and I will be joined by Dr. Ephraim Chaudhry of Trinity Health Group, Dr. Jeffrey Alexis from the University of Rochester Strawn Memorial Hospital, and Dr. Mike, a diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist at Independent Health. I am looking forward to seeing you at the luncheon on February 18th at 11 a.m. at the Underground Railroad Museum located at 825 Depot Avenue in Niagara Falls, New York. Tickets can be purchased at Eventbrite. Search Annual Strong Heart to Soul Luncheon. I can't wait to see you there.